Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Reef Madness TV. This is where we go over things pertaining to reef tanks. If you like our content, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Today we'll be going over some things that you need for water changes. So, of course, the first thing you'll need is water. A lot of people recommend using RODI water. Me, myself, I use distilled water bought from the store, such as this. Just make sure that the distilled water you buy, if you do go this route, is not the distilled water that says with minerals added for taste, because you don't want those extra minerals in there. That kind of defeats the purpose of getting distilled water. The second item you will need for water changes is salt. There are plenty of choices on the market considering salt, which one to use. Depending on your goals, I guess will determine which salt you would like to use. Me, myself, I just use Instant Ocean. I haven't had any problems with it. And then next on the list of things you will need to have is a refractometer, such as this one. Now, a refractometer is used to measure the specific gravity or the parts per million of your salinity, the water you're going in. So for the water that's already in your tank, you want to measure the salinity, and then the water that you're going to place into your tank, you want to measure the salinity, and you want to make sure that they're around the same, if not a little higher or lower than the target that you want your salinity to be. Let's say, for instance, your salinity is at inside your tank is 1.028, but you want to bring your salinity down to 1.026. You may want the salinity of the water that you're going to put into your tank to be at 1.024, or maybe even lower, to try to bring that salinity in your tank down. The next item for water changes you need is a heater. You do not want to put 60-degree water in a tank that is 78 degrees. Obviously the temperature change will be too drastic for your livestock and tank inhabitants. So make sure that you have a heater to heat the water that you will be putting in your tank. Along with that, you need a thermometer. So the next item you need is a thermometer. Item number 5. That's to make sure that your water is within the range of the temperature inside your tank. I would say nothing more or less than within 5 degrees Fahrenheit up or down of the temperature that's in your tank. And number 6 on the number of items that you need for water changes is buckets. Ideally at least 2 for a 20-gallon tank such as this one. You may want to get more for a larger tank, or maybe even a trash can if you have a really large tank, or some tote containers. It all depends on the size of your tank, your budget, where you have place to store all your equipment. But I definitely recommend having something that you can mix the water, put the old water in, and use to put new water into the tank after the water change. Okay, that is all the necessities. Next we'll be going over some things that make water changes a little bit easier. So number 1 on this list will definitely be pumps with hoses. So instead of pouring in, for instance, I have a 20-gallon tank, so I usually just do a 2-gallon water change. It's easily able to pour into a tank from a bucket. But let's say, for instance, you have a 75-gallon tank with a 29-gallon sump. That's upwards over 100 gallons of water. You'll need to be doing at least a 10-gallon water change to hit anywhere close to a 10% water change. So pouring 10 gallons in is not as easy as 2 gallons up. So pumps, you go put a pump in your water change bucket with your clean water, and then put a hose on that pump, and then pump the water from the bucket into the tank instead of trying to pour it in from the bucket itself. It'll also help not make such a mess. Water changes can get messy at times. The second thing that may make water changes easier is a RODI system. So when I started out my tank, I did not get a RODI system. We are moving soon, so I figured the cost of getting one and set one up at my current house would not be worth it. But trust me, if you're going to set up a saltwater tank and you're going to keep it for any amount of time, invest in an RODI system. I will definitely do that as soon as I get to my new house. The money you're going to spend on distilled water will pay for the RODI system in no time. I promise you that. Item number 3 on things that will make water changes easier is a sand vacuum or a siphon of some sort where you can move around the sand and get the detritus and get all the sand looking nice and white again. You can usually find them at a pet store, or you can even make your own. They usually look something like this. Item number 4 on things to make a water change easier is a turkey baster. I usually go around and blast off all the top of my rocks with the turkey baster to make sure I get all the stuff that has settled on them into the water column. So when I start taking water out, I can get some of that, as well as when I do a water change to clean the filter. So if I could get that stuff in the water column and going into the filter, that'll help take out all that extra waste that I do not need in the tank. And last, number 5 on the list of things that make things easier for a water change is a scraper. Like algae scraper to clean your glass, get anything that's growing on the glass off and into the water column as well, so when you start taking water out, you get some of those nutrients and growth off of your glass and out of your tank.